Ladies,
for the
ladies.
It's Audrey Yap at day 2 of the D23 Expo, the ultimate Disney fan event. And to break down all of it, I have senior film reporter Matt Donnelly. You were front and center.
For all this overwhelming action today.
For all the action. Okay, well, let's start with the controversies. Yeah. Tom Holland, he showed up.
He did show up, yeah. There has been a lot of speculation and a ton of really ugly inside reporting this week about the sort of studio breakup around Spider-Man. Now, Sony Pictures owns the licensing to the character and sort of lent him across the aisle to Walt Disney Studios to have him appear in multiple Avengers films. And in exchange, Kevin Feige, who's the president of Marvel Studios, came over to Sony and sort of helped give his Midas touch to the standalone Spidey films with Tom Holland. Now, there's been a ton of reporting about sort of like the ugly breakup. An agreement couldn't be reached because of profit sharing. But Tom did show up today at D23 because he's in the voice cast of a Pixar Disney film called Onward, and there was a very emotional response in the Anaheim Convention Center, specifically surrounding him. I mean, standing ovations, cat calls, screaming out, "We love Spider-Man," you name it. But it was sort of like the moment of today.
And he also seemed to play into that whole MCU controversy, Spider-Man not belonging to it, because he did say, "I love you 3000.
Yes, I love you 3000, which is the signature line of Robert Downey Jr. in Avengers Endgame, which this year became the biggest film in Hollywood history. So yeah, it was more than subtle shade on Tom's part.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Tom Holland making a big splash, but someone who did not show up, the star of Mulan, Crystal Liu. Now, this is a surprise because our sources were saying that she was invited, she was slated to come.
Absolutely. There's been a huge controversy around Mulan for the past couple of weeks with the ongoing protests in Hong Kong. But you know, every other significant Disney live-action film was represented here today except for Mulan, which just had its director show up. I think a lot of people were wondering if she would indeed come and speak and represent the film, which showed some scenes and footage that looked really beautiful and empowering. But alas, we have not heard from her today.
Moving on to Star Wars.
Yes.
My favorite. I think there was
Who knew
just
that you were such a big Lucasfilm head?
Let's not even get into this. Okay, there was like an audible like at the end of that sizzle reel that they had shown, and it was of Rey. It looked like she had Darth Maul's lightsaber.
Yes, I'm gonna pretend I knew everything you just said, but no, Daisy Ridley does seem to flirt a bit with the dark side in some of the footage that Kathleen Kennedy, who's the president of Lucasfilm, and director J.J. Abrams brought to us. And it was really exhilarating to see her like sort of like maybe take a different walk on the wild side, if you will. And we got to see some new faces as well. Keri Russell showed up, and she's sort of like a criminal, as she put it, sort of like an intergalactic shyster who's like roaming around and might be a former flame of Oscar Isaac's.
Yes, so she told me that she's going to be able to give backstory to Poe Dameron, who is Oscar Isaac's character. Also kind of a moving part of the Star Wars panel was J.J. Abrams talking about having Carrie Fisher in the movie and really feeling her spirit throughout.
Sure thing, yeah. He went so far as to call Carrie Fisher the heart and soul of the entire franchise. You know, today I've heard something I hadn't heard before, that they consider, the creators and executives consider this film, the 9th film, a real conclusion of the 3 different sagas that we've seen on screen so far. And at the center of those, obviously, is Carrie Fisher's Princess Leia. And JJ just gave, a really sweet and moving tribute to her. And they're obviously using footage that was shot previously, but JJ said they found new and exciting ways to repurpose it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Pixar also getting into the mix, revealing a couple new titles.
Yeah.
Very new, though.
Very new, yes. I think that we're entering an entirely new sort of iteration of Pixar. You know, if you look at what the studio's been through in the past couple of years, obviously the exit of John Lasseter, who's the founding executive and creative force behind the company, who left in disgrace in 2018. Another founder, Steve Jobs, passed in 2011. And this year, Ed Catmull, who's sort of known as a computer graphics whiz, retired. So there's an all-new generation of creators at Pixar, and they have some really interesting out-there projects, including Soul. It takes place in a world where there's a cosmic realm where your soul is formed before they sort of install them into young babies.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of heavy lifting, but it's got a fantastic cast in Jamie Foxx, Tina Fey, Questlove, Daveed Diggs from Hamilton and Blind Spotting. So I think that'll be pretty interesting to see what they cook up in this brand new think tank over at Pixar.
How many existential crises we will have after watching it.
I've had several today.
Yeah, there you go. Onward also puts together Chris Pratt and Tom Holland together. They're playing brothers.
Yes.
They're playing an elf family,
Yeah,
right?
it's sort of, the film takes place in this world where elves used to be these magical creatures that have sort of evolved to very mundane, suburban modern families. And Chris Pratt plays kind of like, a bonehead older brother who really believes in the legacy of the elfin people and wants to rediscover some of that magic. And just today they announced that Julie Louis-Dreyfus of Veep and Seinfeld fame is playing their mom.
Yes.
That looks like a really sweet and also a little bit of a different, more like emotionally heavy lifting project, which is actually a collaboration between Disney Animation and Pixar.
Yeah, Julia Louis-Dreyfus talked to me on the carpet and she said there are parts of this movie that are just gut-wrenching.
That seems to be a theme, and I applaud Disney for being so self-aware, because Chris Buck, who's one of the directors of Walt Disney Animation, just openly admitted today, like, we tend to kill off a lot of the parents in these movies, which is definitely tracks.
Saying the quiet part loud, let's see. All right, and to top it all off, we have to talk about some Marvel news. I got to talk with the stars of the Eternals on the carpet. You were there for some major casting reveals.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing today was that Kit Harington of Game of Thrones fame is officially joining the MCU and the Eternals. They've also confirmed what we previously reported, that Barry Keogh and Gemma Chan of Crazy Rich Asians fame are also joining the cast. Also, I think the biggest news to me is that Angelina plays blonde in this film, which we haven't seen her do since the rom-com Life or Something Like It. And then also we got a release date for Black Panther 2, which is very exciting.
Yes.
Ryan Coogler himself came here. It is May 6, 2022. They apparently also have a villain and a title, though they wouldn't give up those details. And we also got an expanded look at Black Widow, including sort of the first real look at David Harbour, who plays sort of like a saucy drunk with a really comic Russian accent, which I feel like is just David Harbour and is off duty anyway. So.
Okay, that was a lot of D23 news, so much to break down. And for more from the D23 Expo, head over to Variety.com.